car. Jarier not giving up though, still pressurising the British driver. Into the Angel, Nito hairpin, a corner that's caught a lot of people out. Oh, and it catches Bellum out as well. Oh, Bellum spins, stops just short of the gravel, picks it all up, and now that has let Jarier and the Lara Porsche team back into the lead of the race. Well, John Nielsen back in again, routine stop. Belmondo continues with the in-car camera on board, and look at this, Bellum's caught up again. He's taking another 5 laps and he's right up with Jarier again. There they go past the pits and he takes the lead going up the hill. Braking for that first corner. Jarier now becoming exhausted, cannot do anything about it. Bellum incidentally due to have handed the car over to Maurizio Sala, but deciding to stay in for a second shift. John Nielsen starts his final charge, setting fastest lap of the race, but after that final pit stop, it ended with a broken gearbox on the penultimate lap. He was unclassified for failing to take the checkered flag. So we see Belmondo, Neugarten and Pusch in that Ferrari F40, still running strongly after its earlier electrical problems. Porsche, the DSF Porsche wearing some battle scars after running into the back of the Repsol Renault car. Through goes the Ferrari. Oh, and Ray Bellum leading and now heading for victory after driving what must be the race of his life. Jarier 15 seconds behind. Last lap, and there's the difference. Ray Bellum, Jean-Pierre Jarier, who likewise has decided to stay in the car for a second shift. Although tired, he came in to refuel 3 laps early. Christophe Bouchou was ready for the final shift, but hadn't got his helmet on because he came in early and unfortunately was unable to take over the car. So it's Bellum, it's still Jarier, and they're on the final lap of the Ref 4 hours. What a fascinating race it's been. 8 times the lead of the race has changed. 15-second gap now being maintained throughout the last lap. Third place, the brand new GT2 Porsche of Calderari and Breiner after Daytona, their second GT2 victory in 3 weeks. But Christophe Bouchou is going to be denied his second victory in 2 races. He finishes second as the checkered flag is out. Ray Bellum, surely one of your finest victories.
Yeah, I made it a bit hard for myself because I spun when I took the lead and thought, bugger it, I've now got to make up another 20 seconds, but the car was absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, I set it up in the morning and it's very oversteery, but I got greedy. I was so enjoying myself, I thought I'd stay in there.
Winner, looking forward already to the next race this coming weekend at Ricard in France. Well, that's been the Kershaw GT show. Join us next time here on Eurosport.
Ross West of Britain in 6, Green of the USA in 7. They're both very similar on paper. And Ross West had a great start.
Aston Martin, all Le Mans winners in their time. More Jaguars. Call Corvette Stingrays. And more Jaguars. But the interest this weekend was focused on the battle of today's giants. McLaren GTs first appeared not this year, but way back in the 1960s, when Bruce McLaren built his first M6B GT as a road car of the future. It took McLaren 25 years to put a GT into production, and today's F1 has become one of the world's most desirable cars. Their owners wanted to go racing, so McLaren produced the F1 GTR, the £650,000 race car designed by Gordon Murray, which debuted and won first time out at Jerez 2 weeks ago. The enormous interest, Häkkinen and Ron Dennis at Ricard to see for themselves, as was Murray, who told Eurosport all about his fabulous creation.
Hi, I'm Gordon Murray from McLaren Cars, and we'd like to tell you a little bit more about our F1 GTR. The car is inherently a racing car anyway, because the chassis is very stiff, made from carbon fiber on the road car, and with central driving position, it's ideal for a transition into a racing car. The engine itself is already dry sumped and has a lot of magnesium in it. Also generally a racing engine on the road, so the car lends itself a lot to being a good racing car. The aerodynamics on the car were already ground effect, so that wasn't much of a change. In fact, we had to detract from the aerodynamics a bit to make the racing car work. The car is also, of course, very light and very torquey, and that's also been helpful. The suspension we had to change because the road car is built with lots of compliance, and this car has had to have the suspension stiffened up a lot. Larger brakes as well, of course, for competition, and all the safety features such as roll cage and fire extinguisher system. But I think the car does make a good race car, and we've had a team of very good people working on turning the road car into a racing car, because the racing car itself has all the inherent things that make a car handle and go around corners and stop and go very well. So far we've sold 6 of the racing cars, and we have a few more laid down. There's no real limit to the production, and people want to buy the cars, we can build more. Of course, on the road car, we had to go to a lot of trouble to make the car comfortable for a Grand Touring car with air conditioning and stereo systems and that sort of thing, compliance in the suspension. And on the racing car, all that's had to come out, of course. So there was a lot of effort to add things to the racing car to make it go fast, but also a lot of things that we actually have to strip out of it to turn it into a racing car. I think the main opposition was probably going to come from the F40s this year, when we get the stronger cars coming in the next couple of races. Also that GT 1.5 Porsches sort of almost keeping up. So I think, I mean, it's really healthy. I'd like to see as much opposition and as many different cars as possible, because I think it's what's going to make the series interesting. And already in Spain we had a good race, and if that keeps up, I think it's going to be a very interesting year.
New to Paul Ricard were Augusta Racing's Callaway Corvettes, a pair of replicas of last year's factory cars run by Reeves Callaway, now under Keith Green at Brackley. Unlike the mid-engined McLaren, Callaway chose to keep his engine in the front of the car.
This is a traditional American car layout, front engine, rear drive, 6.3-liter naturally aspirated V8, 450 horsepower. X-Track sequential gearbox this year is one of the big new changes, as well as the center lock wheel system to speed up our pit stop times. But we were quite pleased that we were able to construct the car at or below the weight limit for the car, requiring it to be ballasted up to the required weight. So for the first time, we're running a car that will be on weight. Big help to everything, of course. But if we were walking around the car, we'd see that it, of course, starts with a production frame, has a roll cage, has the engine set in the proper location, uses all Corvette suspension, Penske dampers, running this team on Dunlop tires this year. But largely all of the bits are carbon construction, and that's what's enabled us to get the weight down to the limit.
It's really sort of a mix of Formula One technology with American muscle.
Well, that's what's happened in this form of GT racing, is that you'd have to take a production car and then remake all of the bits that it takes to get it down to the weight limit.
How many are you planning on this year?
Our capacity is limited to 5 cars. These first 2 are delivered here this weekend. At Monza, we'll deliver to a new Swiss team, and then on through the season we'll continue our deliveries.
And your own plans for your own C7?
We have said that we would love to debut the C7, the Callaway C7, at Le Mans. Given the amount of work that it takes to support teams with the GT2 car, I can say safely that we will debut the C7 sometime this year, hopefully at Le Mans.
The Paul Ricard showed just how quickly GT racing is growing. 18 cars at Jerez and now 38 on the grid in only the second round, and it's still early March. The BPR organisation has attracted not only 4 McLarens and the 2 Corvettes, but Porsche, Ferrari, De Tomaso, Lotus and Venturi. There are 14 races on this year's calendar, and the manufacturer involvement is increasing week by week. Porsche, of course still rear-engined, was the most winning make of 1994, the first year of the BPR series. 4 wins for the factory-assisted Labre competition team, and the same crew heads Stuttgart's assault on international GT racing this year. The lead driver Jean-Pierre Jarier, a man of some experience, told Eurosport all about his Porsche.
Voilà, moi je suis un ancien pilote de Formule 1 puisque
Jean-Pierre told us I was a Formula 1 driver and I raced in 140 Grand Prix, but I'm also a long-time endurance driver and I was twice world champion for Matra and Alfa Romeo. So I really love GT racing. I said I love all racing, but GT is the best of the sports cars, 500 horsepower, rear-wheel drive, and much more interesting to drive than 2-litre touring cars with front-wheel drive.
Alors voilà, la Porsche que j'ai.
Well, the Porsche, he said, has new bodywork
un nouveau châssis 993 avec des freins
and much bigger brakes, exceptionally important on this car.
La première qualité est le freinage. Nous avons une GT2, mais avec
it's a 911 GT2, but with 12-inch and 14-inch wheels, so the car runs in the GT1 class.
Et qui a une boîte 6 vitesses
6-speed gearbox
avec un système
with ABS braking
et un moteur
and an engine of giving around 500 horsepower.
650 chevaux comme la McLaren.
Well, if we had 650 horsepower, we could be in front of the McLarens, but today we're behind. There's a new rear wing, which is higher and gives us more downforce. We can feel the difference. The car is much more tiring to drive. All in all, though, having said that, the car is very well balanced. Very good and light power steering. The car really is quite easy to drive.
L'écurie Labre Compétition.
Well, the Labre team is the best in GT and it has the best GT2 Porsche. And when we make it into real GT1, he says,
la meilleure GT2. Et je crois que le jour où nous aurons une
GT1,
nous ferons très peur au McLaren. Bon, bah, la voiture, elle est très classique.
Well, he said you can see the car still looks like a classic production Porsche. And it represents what Porsche has achieved over the years with the 911.
Cette voiture ressemble vraiment à
very much like last year's Super Cup car,
de l'année dernière du championnat, mais
although it's very different underneath.
Très différente. Par ses performances, je vous
mostly because of the braking,
par sa puissance moteur et la souplesse de son moteur. Je crois que on va arriver rapidement au bout du développement et là.
Well, the problem he said is we're going to very quickly be at the limit of its development, so we need more power to win races.
La prise de réservoir de 100 litres.
This is the fuel tank here, 100 litres. Really, it's a very simple car to run with a very experienced team. Jean-Pierre Jarier, one of the most expensive and experienced men in GT racing. He won here at Paul Ricard, first time out last year, 20 years after his last sports car win on the former French Formula 1 circuit.
Hej, Tony Ring på Eurosport Nordic här. Dags för ett kortare kommersiellt avbrott. Häng med oss alldeles strax igen.
You're back with Eurosport, you're back with me, Mark Cole, here at Paul Ricard on Sunday at 38-car field for the second Porsche Endurance GT. Among them, no less than 8 Ferraris, including 3 Ferrari F40s and 3 of the new 355s. Ferrari, though, has great plans over the next few weeks to challenge McLaren's domination of international GT racing, and Ferrari Club Italia's Franco Miners told us of the factory's plans.
We progressed very well. Last year, you remember, we tuned up with Michelotto 2348 LM. We did all the BPR races plus the 24 hours of Le Mans with a lot of success. And this year we are tuning 2 F40s. They will be called the GTE. This means GT evolution. It's an evolution of the F40 LM, who raced also in IMSA with Alesi in 89, 88 this years. And it's like the car you have also here. And this will be, we will have 5 drivers for the 4 hours races in the BPR. We will start from Monza the next weekend, March 25, 26. The drivers will be Della Noce and Olofsson on the first car. In Jarama we will have also the second car, which will be driven from Fabio Mancini, Massimo Monti, and Gary Iles. Is an English driver who did also tourism and super tourism for Peugeot in Italy. The cars are very nice. We race in the GT1 category against McLaren and some other kind of this car, Bugatti and whatever it is. They have 650 horsepower. They have Pirelli tires, 1,050 kilos weight. Will be in Ferrari Dino color. This means it's light red, which raced in the 60s. Our team will be organized as last year with 2 tuners. The first is Michelotto, who is producing these cars, and the second tuner is Imberti, who will allow us to do all the evolution also during the year we need. We have lots of new specification due to the rules. We had to modify a lot the car. All the font of the car, the underneath part of the car is modified. The bodywork is modified. Everything is modified, complying to the rules. We will have during the season also a sequential gearbox, which is the first time that a sequential gearbox will be fitted on a car like this with so many horsepower, 650 horsepower. We will have also 19 inches wheels from Pirelli. Pirelli did a great job for the car. We wait only to see how fast we will be in Monza.
Ferrari's ambitious plans, including that big Le Mans attack, that's going to be something to see up against McLaren, Porsche and Jaguar. At the next race, Monza, as many as 45 cars could be on the grid, including Jaguar, 2 of which are being run by Britain's PC Automotive. Let's have a quick look, though, at the action from the weekend at Paul Ricard. Then we'll have a word with Richard Piper of PC. Richard Piper, we're here at Paul Ricard. We've got McLaren, we've got Porsche, we've got De Tomaso, we've got Lotus, and we've got Ferrari. You're bringing something else to Monza.
Yes, Monza will be the first time a Jaguar enters the series. We are testing next week, so we're a little bit late with the project. The season started a bit too early for us, but we'll be there at Monza. I can't tell you how competitive we'll be. Looking at the McLarens, they're a class act. We'll have to wait and see how we compare.
Are you planning on running two XJ220s this year? Will they both be at Monza, and who will be driving?
No, there'll be one car at Monza. We're going to run one car until Le Mans. We're running two cars at Le Mans, and then we may run two cars in the BPR series after Le Mans. It just depends, as usual, on our sponsorship arrangements.
Richard, you were a very experienced Group C racer from the C2 days. You've done Le Mans, you did the World Championship for some years. What's your impression now on this International GT series?
Oh, I think this is absolutely the way sports car racing should go. It's Group C was marvellous, but the costs got out of control. By the time you got to the 3.5 litre formula, it was getting far too expensive for the privateer. This is exactly the sort of racing sports cars need. This is the beginning of the series. We're very excited about joining it. We see it as having a great future. We can't wait to get started.
Knock in the field. In Sunday's race at Paul Ricard, a brief look at the race as Maurizio Sala put the Gulf McLaren on pole and headed the early race before John Nielsen put the West McLaren ahead, 190 miles per hour here on the Mistral Straight. Pierre-Henri Raffanel then hit the front in the second Gulf McLaren, but almost immediately hit fuel pickup problems. He and Lindsay Owen-Jones losing 6 laps in the number 3 Gulf McLaren. The lead changed yet again, and Daytona winner Christophe Bouchou was to put the Labre Porsche out in front briefly to the car he was sharing with Jean-Pierre Jarier and Bob Wallach. But Ray Bellum and Maurizio Sala regained control by the end for their second consecutive win for Gulf McLaren. After 4 hours racing here, on the 5.4 kilometre former French Grand Prix circuit on the Mediterranean coast. We're in second place, Wallach, Jarier and Bouchou in that Porsche, 1 minute 54 down. What a fine performance with 200 horsepower less. In third place, Nielsen and Thomas Bischer in the West McLaren, 1 lap down. In fourth place, Wolfgang Kaufmann, Michel Ligenet, Michel Albert in their Porsche 911 Turbo, finishing 3 laps down on race winners Bellem and Sala. And a fine debut 5th place, first time out in their new McLaren, the 4th of the cars to be built, Jean-Luc Maudy-Laribière, Lecuyer and Pascal Fabre. 109 laps, just ahead of Harold Gross's Porsche 911 Turbo. Well, someone was there to see the McLarens in action. Ron Dennis watching his charges take the checkered flag for the second time.
Well, just happened to be in the south of France on business, so seemed appropriate to come here.
You must be very pleased, 2 out of 2 and all cars finishing today.
Yes, we're happy for all of them. We're obviously very happy for the golf team. I think it's they're doing a good job, and as they get more and more proficient at the art of racing, I think their results will just continue to come.
Stood there. You are better, love don't live here anymore.
Coming back into IndyCar racing because of Indianapolis.